Welcome back to the Music Bar Podcast.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you, Chris.
Thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. But I see behind you there that normally you've got a lot of shelves and you're a blank space now.
I'm a blank space.
You are still packing, are you?
We have packed. We haven't moved yet, so we're not going to unpack until we do move. So everything's very bland in our house at the moment. It is what it is.
Are you eating off paper plates and all that sort of stuff?
We didn't actually get to most of the kitchen's still there, cutlery and crockery, but only like 2 or 3 things of everything. It's been fun. It's like we've gone camping in our own home. So,
so you're not quite homeless yet?
No, not quite homeless. Yeah, so it's been an interesting few weeks since the whole saga. That is what it is. But yeah, we're still looking for a new place to move to. But yeah, it is very bland. So,
maybe this minimalist approach is probably going to behoove you, my friend, and maybe you might sort of go, it's very Japanese, the minimalist thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to do minimalism, but if you look at my table here, there's nothing minimalist about this.
Oh, really?
I got crap everywhere. Boy.
Yeah, so episode 34.
Episode 34, and I know this is a weekly podcast, and sometimes you and I have a bit of a meeting. We go, what are we going to talk about? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we go, yeah, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And then some weeks it's like there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And this has been one of those. This has been one of those weeks. Like we've got something we're going to probably talk about if we get time, because it's not but there's lots of stuff to talk about. I mean, I sent you a list. And I hope you retained that list because...
Do you not have it in front of you?
No, it's probably on the phone, which I'm talking into as we speak.
Oh, okay, right. Well, let's start with what you said before when I first joined this conversation today. You were trying to buy tickets for...
Kendrick Lamar. I love Kendrick Lamar. I'm a fan. His new album came out last week, Mr. Morales and the Big Stepper. This guy, I know you say you've not really heard him or anything like that, but I think he is one of the most incredible artists of the 21st century. I think every era has that incredible artist. I think David Bowie, 70s. I think Prince in the 80s, definitely. Artists who push boundaries while still retaining a pop music edge, so to speak. The 90s and the 2000s maybe, but in the last decade, for me, it's been Kendrick Lamar. As a rapper, he has no equal as far as I'm concerned. I think he is an amazing performer. The production on his albums is second to none. He's thinking ahead of the pack. He is head and shoulders ahead of the pack in my books. And I was really looking forward to buying tickets to go and see him. But we tried the pre-sale and it's all sold out already. Didn't take long.
When is the concert?
Not till December, which is pretty early considering a lot of other artists are already coming out, as we have seen. The tickets are coming out, Chris. They're touring,
flooding in.
That's right. The international artists are touring. We're getting our tickets and everything like that. And I really wanted to see what Kendrick Lamar was going to offer. Maybe I might try the general pre-sale and see how I go there. Yeah. But I personally think it's the bots.
Right.
And that's not being one of these conspiracy. I think the bots get out there and buy as many tickets as they can. And then you'll probably find later on, you go on the websites and the eBay and everything like that, and it'll be like Kendrick Lamar tickets. And I'm like, and that's what I think can and will happen. And because I made me think that when I go through the ticket websites anyway, you got those things that say, I am not a robot, or can you pick these? None of that happens on any of these sites, which makes me think, bots can just come on these things and just buy 6 tickets, man. And because the way you can get on there as soon as the tickets go on sale and still wait 20 minutes to get on.
Absolutely.
So, I'm going to say it, the bots.
Good luck with getting the tickets soon down the future. Hopefully you get them if you love them that much.
I'll tell you what, just made me, I got disappointed because it made me just think, if this is what it's going to be like to buy tickets for any major artist now, that's really disappointing. It's really disappointing.
Is he playing Brisbane Boondall?
Yeah.
And only one concert?
At the moment, I reckon probably do two, the way
They
the
might do
tickets
another
sold
one?
today.
Yeah.
Probably do
Why
two.
not?
I was surprised it wasn't at one of the bigger venues. I really was. I thought,
Right.
this guy could really sell some tickets, I think.
Right.
He really can. So, he crosses boundaries, Kendrick, so I'm a fan. So, yep, that was a big thing for me. The new Kendrick Lamar album, and it's an intense record. There's some stuff on it that you just kind of go, whoa.
I don't know if I'll give it a listen, but you never know.
You never know. Where's he come up with this stuff?
Yeah.
Where does he come up with this stuff? But anyway, yeah.
The list that we had that you sent me was also, and this is one of the bands you talk about quite a lot, The Who.
The Who. That's H-U, not The Who.
H-U, not W-H-O, but H-U.
You must, do you pronounce Who or Who? I mean, yeah, have you heard The Who, Chris?
I watched their new song the other day. It started with them on quad bikes, I believe.
Yep, This Is Mongol.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so I watched that the other day, listened to it. I've never heard of them before until you started talking about them. That's the first time I've really listened to them. But yeah, okay. I'm not the biggest fan like you are of them, but I appreciate what that was for where they come from.
I personally think it's probably not the best place to start with them. I didn't think the new song was a great indication of what these guys can do.
Right.
If you're not familiar, everyone's not familiar with The Who, they sing in Mongolian.
Yep.
They're heavy. They use traditional Mongolian instruments, and they do all the traditional Mongolian throat singing. And they sing, when you watch their videos and sing the songs with the English translations, they're not singing love songs. These guys are singing songs about being warriors and fighting enemies, and you try and take us, and we'll. there's other stuff of The Who that I think is much better. And also when we were talking about Lizzie Hale and Hailstorm, she did a song with them called Song of the Woman. That's probably a better indication of where these guys are. I heard the new song and I thought, it's all right. I think there's got to be there's a better indication on. So give him another shot, Chris. Give him another shot, I think.
Well, you sent me a text of what song I should start with.
All right, I will then. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine, I will. And I think the other one I read is Rammstein having new album out. Rammstein. Yep, they've started a European tour already. I'd love to see if they bring this to Australia.
Have you ever seen them?
Oh, no. The only time they played in Australia was back in 2000, I believe, or 2001. They played the Big Day Out.
Oh, wow.
And it was the Big Day Out that Limp Bizkit headlined, which was the controversial one where the young girl died in the crowd at the Sydney show.
Right.
And Limp Bizkit pulled out of the show. Now, I think it was as the headliner. So the next band as the headliner was Powderfinger. Yeah. And Powderfinger quite smartly said, there's no way we could come on after Rammstein. The lead singer comes out on fire.
Yeah.
So I think that was Australia's first taste of Rammstein live. And as I said, Till Lindemann came out on fire. They had all sorts of things going on during their show. And then Powderfinger would come out to headline and go with their stuff, they were this big. I mean, you remember back in the early 2000s, Powderfinger were like the biggest group in this country. But even they went, we can't follow Rammstein.
No. Different style of music, but that's so Rammstein's music is there's only one word to describe it, I think. When you hear him live, it's just powerful.
I think it's very German.
Such power behind their music, not the singing, but their music. It sounds so full. It's like they've got 10 guitars on there. I've always been amazed by their sound, but never seen them live. So I do hope they come out. I think I'd love to go see them.
We'll definitely go if that's, and hopefully there's no bots buying tickets, and definitely go and see Rammstein live. Their new album, look, it's a Rammstein record. It's pretty good. Their videos are great. If you've seen the videos, the new one, Angst, they're ahead of the pack with music videos. And there's the other video for Zigzag, where they've all got the plastic surgery and everything like that. Look, you don't even really have to know the lyrics to know where they come from. But Angst was a really interesting one because I watched it with the English subtitles, and it's all about white supremacism, but not as in like it's all about how people are shutting themselves off from the outside world and claiming white supremacism as a form of like guarding them against the rest of the world.
Right.
And when you hear this coming from a German band, it's like, whoa, these guys are pushing against, so to speak. You know, they're kind of saying, you know, you're scared. What are you scared of? What are you scared of? You're scared of the black man. They literally are saying that in the song. And the video shows them building walls in their own little, it's a great video. You've got to watch it. Angst, you know. So,
very, very
good. Yeah, New Ramstein. I mean, keep going. Hey?
Touch on Metallica. Little close to home. I won't talk about it too much. It was a little bit personal, I guess, in the sense, and I don't want to bring up too much about it because it is about depression. So if you do suffer from that, you know, just be careful what I'm about to say kind of thing. But Metallica, James Hetfield just recently in their last gig over in South America, took the stage, played a bunch of songs and had a bit of a, I wouldn't say meltdown or a breakdown, just mentioned to the crowd that he wasn't doing very well, and he was talking to his bandmates before the show, saying a bit insecure about his age and his guitar playing and everything. But yeah, they all came out and gave him a hug and they kept playing. It was probably made out to be a lot worse, I guess, because it sounded like when I first read it that he was like, you know, he didn't finish playing or anything, but he actually kept playing the show. But it was really good that he could actually say that kind of thing on stage, feel a little bit vulnerable to the crowd and to the people who are watching, you know, like us. But yeah, I just hope he does really well and gets the help he needs if it's what he's going through, a bit of depression.
Look, it prompted a bit of a conversation between you and me about the future of the band. Yeah. And you said something about maybe he should do something solo. I mean, we're just two fans. That's all we are. We're two fans, just sort of. Yeah. We're not trying to give this band or James Hetfield life advice or anything like that, but they don't have anything else to prove anymore. If they called the indefinite hiatus, I mean, how long? The album Hardwired to Self-Destruct, what year did that come out? 2014? So it's been 8 years since that particular record. I know they're probably in the process of recording, writing something else. They seem to have toured relentlessly, and in that tour, James did go back to rehab. And then he's come out and, look, you know, it is something, what he's saying is definitely signs of someone with depression. But it makes me wonder, is it all worth it? Because, you know, is it keeping the machine running? I've told you about how it's not just the four guys on stage, it's everyone they employ.
Everybody.
And they do feel that responsibility because they feel, well, if we stop, everyone here, you know, loses their jobs, so to speak. Yeah. And I'm sure Metallica employ hundreds of people. And these are guys, and, you know, I've said it before, buying houses in America, putting kids through college, you know, all that sort of stuff. And so I can understand that pressure gets on them as well, especially if they just I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I've got nothing left to prove. And this is a fine line. They've got to try and figure this one out.
I said to you the other day, I think it'll be really handy for him because he wrote Obviously Nothing Else Matters, and Elton John came out recently, said it's one of the greatest songs ever written. So, and he was really surprised by that when he first told his band, you know, Nothing Else Matters. And they're like, what is this? But they actually really liked it. So I think it'll be really, like, Kirk obviously just brought out Portals, and it's a little bit of a way for the Metallica music that we all know Kirk can do. And you and I both love that album. It's only got 4 songs on it, but how good is it, you know?
It's
I
really
would
good.
really like to see James do something for himself where he can actually get all his thoughts and feelings out. If it's an instrumental or it's got lyrics, whatever, but away from the Metallica machine. And if he ever, not saying he has to go on tour or not, but if he wants to go and play a few gigs here and there, he doesn't need a massive big crew. He doesn't need a massive big, whatever. He can do it acoustically. He does play a lot of unplugged shows already for charity, so he can do
does
that.
he really?
Yep, yep. So it'll be really, I would like to hear him do something away from Metallica. If that helps him with his writing and gets the things out of his system, out of his mind, that he just keeps going back into alcoholism or depression, whatever it is, it might help a little bit. I don't know. I don't know that for sure, but it must be hard. I was talking to a mate of mine the other day about the same subject. It must be hard singing Master Puppets, which was made in 1985, and they started touring on the 1986 album Master Puppets, and every gig I think they've ever played ever since most likely had that song in there, like in a Sandman and One. And after a while, I've been playing those songs, you must get a little bit bored. You know what I mean? Playing those songs. Yep.
I'd agree. And for some bands like Metallica, it's like if they didn't play them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would get like, I remember I heard an interview with Jimmy Barnes where he talks about that, where he said there's certain songs he has to do. Otherwise he knows the audience will crucify him. He said, I can do my new stuff and all that, but I've got to do K-San. I've got to do Working Class Man.
Yeah.
He said, if I don't do them and other songs, the audience will kill me. They will literally jump on the stage and kill me. And yet I have seen other artists. Bruce Springsteen will always do Born to Run, but I've seen other artists really mix their set lists up. And a great example is Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam do a different set list every night of the week. You can go see Pearl Jam 3 different nights and see a completely different set list sometimes.
Well, that's what my mate was saying. He actually did the figures for me when we were chatting. Not counting like live performances like Howard Stern and things, but concerts themselves, gigs. Metallica has done 2,144 gigs on record. That's at the moment, So Master Puppets has been played over 1,700 times. That's an average more than one gig every week since their first show in 1982. So, that's a lot of shows. And considering they played over 350 shows for the Black Album alone, and they went on tour for just over 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
They do mix up the set list a lot, but they still have those ones, like you said, with Jimmy Barnes. They have to play this, they have to play that. So I would like to see if that means that he can go write his journal, his lyrics and everything more personal to help him get better, or whatever you want to call it. I would love to see it, because it seems like something like Kirk has just done would help him in that way as well. Not that he has suffered depression, but a creative outlet that you don't normally have. And I think it'd be really good for James to do that. So, but that's just our opinion kind of thing. But, shout out to Jim for those figures that he texted me the other day about Metallica, because when you read those figures, it's pretty amazing,
That's it.
It's crazy.
Is Jim producing the show now, is he?
He's just here. Hey, Jim. So, but anyway, get better, James.
Please, man.
Topic today. I sent you a chart list the other day, which I was really surprised by. And
I have it in my hot little hand.
Same here. I've got it right here as well. But I was blown away by this. And it's the top 40 Australian rock albums on the charts with iTunes right now. And
so what this means is, because I'm looking at the chart that you sent me, it is actually what iTunes are selling. So these are things that are actually still being sold on iTunes more than being streamed. People are actually putting down their hard-earned money into their iTunes accounts to literally buy these. And yes.
Before we go into the number one and all the rest of them, were you surprised by this?
Yes, very much. And yet, how would I say it? When we talked, there's a couple of entries here that I will talk about. But it also, when we talked a couple of weeks ago about the end of the greatest hits record. And you can see looking at this,
they're still going crazy. Greatest hits. People going to start with number 10 and go to number 1, or?
Look, let's go from number one down because I got to admit, number one is a band called Teen Jesus and the Gene Teasers. Now, as far as band names is concerned, that's one of the best I've ever heard.
Right.
I just listened to the album, actually, EP, pretty good for a girl band. It's the number one there. They're an Australian group from Canberra. All girls, all very young. It's very poppy punk kind of thing, very aimed at teenagers. It reminded me a bit of the other Australian pop punk band from a few years ago, Short Stack, but a girl version of them. Look, probably not my thing, but I can imagine a room full of teenagers just going nuts to these girls. And I say, good on them. Keep it going, because if you got teenagers listening to a bit of rock and it's an all-girl group, go for it.
Absolutely.
It. Keep going. Yeah, I'll go for it. Now, this Rolling Stones one is number 2, Live at the El Mocambo. That's just come out, so I can understand that's going to be up high. That's like it's Rolling Stones live one. Guns N' Roses' Greatest Hits at number 3. That thing, that won't die, will it? I keep thinking to myself, like it's Appetite, but no, the Greatest Hits won't die. Then we got State Champs, Kings of the New Age. They're an American pop punk band. It's obviously got a thing going on. I haven't heard that one, but I can only imagine what it sounds like. Queen's Greatest Hits at number 5. Another one. That is one of the biggest selling, as a CD and a vinyl album, it's one of the biggest selling records of all time.
Yeah.
Because, when you really look at, because a lot of time when they do the biggest selling albums, they don't look at greatest hits records. But the Queen's Greatest, I think in the UK, it's the biggest seller around. Rammstein's new one. Yeah, Rammstein's new one, Zeet at number 6. Bon Jovi's Greatest Hits at number 7. Now, Bon Jovi. Have you seen? I wanted to bring this up.
Beautiful segue.
Have you seen the videos of John singing now?
I have.
It's not pretty, is it?
No, it's up there with Vince Neil, probably even worse, to be honest.
I think it's worse. I personally think it's worse.
I think you'll find it's worse because he's still trying to sing it, where Vince knows he can't, so he gets the audience to participate.
Yep.
But John thinks he can still do it. I'm not sure what's going on with John. But
that's a good thing.
Something's going on with John.
Something's going on with John, and it's not singing.
No.
But that's an interesting way that you put it. Now, a couple of podcasts ago, I did say as my cool thing was Justin Hawkins from The Darkness and his YouTube. Yeah, and this one of him criticizing, and Justin is not an awful get in there and tell people that they're awful. He's really a very constructive critic of people singing and their playing. He's very good. And Justin Hawkins did, and this video of his is probably his biggest one. It's gone viral. Everyone's reporting on it. But he's basically saying he wishes someone in the Bon Jovi camp would sort of tap John on the shoulder and say, John, it's not something, you got to rest.
Yeah.
It's something,
You need to go get some help for your voice.
Yeah, because you said it just then. John's singing like he thinks he can still sing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas I then said to the new one he did of Vince Neil. Whereas it was Vince Neil doing his cameo videos where Vince just looked like he barely gave a crap. And he was more worried about Vince's physical appearance, as if saying, I'm scared Vince is not physically well. But he said, listen to his voice. He just doesn't give a crap. He's a rock star. He still can sing in tune when he wants to. Mm-hmm. But you can see him, he's smiling and strutting. He said he's smiling for a start. Yeah. So he looks like he's still having fun whilst doing it. Yeah. So he said, we do bang out on Vince a bit, but when you see that compared to John Bon Jovi, it's a marked difference, isn't it, Chris?
It is, absolutely. And that's sad because I never thought I'd put John Bon Jovi in the category with Vince Neil in the current singing, kind of like aspect, because John's always been one of the top rock singers around.
I think he's always, as Justin Hawkins said, he's always pushed it to the limit. I've never thought he was a great singer, but he's always pushed, great frontman, and he's always pushed it to the limit, He
did what he did really well. And consistently.
Mm.
And speaking of Vince Neil, quick segue over to the Def Leppard and Motley Crue tour.
Oh,
I
yes,
saw Phil Collins the other day. Pardon?
It starts really soon in America.
It does start really soon. But Phil Collins came out the other day. And anyone who knows Phil Collins, plays guitar for Def Leppard, he is in his probably late 50s, early 60s. He is one fit man. And he has come out and said, we are getting like fitness experts to come with us on tour. And I'm wondering if he's doing that for himself. And he's going like, hey, Vince, come on, work out with me kind of thing. He wants everybody in the bands to work out during the shows, you know, so during their touring. So I hope he does that for Vince, because I think Vince could go back to what he used to be if he gets a little bit healthier, I guess. But John needs to stop right now and go see some help.
I think so. It's funny. I remember seeing Def Leppard many years ago, and Phil Collins is shirtless for the whole damn show. Yeah. And you just sit there and you watch him and you think, you're not just a naturally skinny guy, you are fit, dude.
Yeah, he is. He's been working out for a very long time.
Like he still appears on covers of Men's Health magazine.
Yeah.
And plus he's a vegan too, so he appears on all the vegan magazines and everything like that. And you remember when Steve Clark was like, him and Steve Clark were the Terror Twins. Their alcohol consumption was huge. So Phil obviously had this switch in him. But yes, please, Phil. And look, I think this tour is starting next month, and I can't wait. Because, you know, not that we can see it, but the set lists will come. The reviews are going to come. YouTube videos are going to come. And believe us, we will be watching them. And I think Chris and I will probably end up doing an episode looking at each of it and going, right, this is what where will it be good? All right. Number 8, Hailstorm, Back from the Dead. We talked about Hailstorm. I've been listening to it a bit more. Whew. It's good. Bryan Adams Ultimate. Of course, a Bryan Adams best of. An Australian Crawl. Now, how many times, Chris Butenhouse, have I told you about how popular Australian Crawl are? That is the number 1 Australian record, apart from the Teen Jesus and the Gene Teasers, from the heritage bands, so to speak, the legacy bands. Australian Crawl, man. It just
crazy.
We don't realize how popular this band was and still is.
Yeah, and only the other podcast a few weeks ago, I mentioned to you after watching Hey Hey Saturday that they watched a couple of. I said to to Lexi, I said to her, do you know who Australian Crawl is? She said, no, I don't. And then I played her, must have been 2 or 3 songs, and she knew them straight away. So the younger generations, everybody has heard these songs. They're on the radio all the time. They just don't know the name and can't match it up with the face of the band, but because they're not watching video clips anymore, they're all streaming. But popular band.
Oh, it does. I'm sure that probably surprised you when you saw it and you went, Dan's not full of it here. You know, it's like, because I have been saying for a while, it's just, Australian Crawl. Because it still surprises me. I think everyone talks with Cold Chisels and the Jimmy Barnes and In Excess and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But when you come down to the plain hard figures, it's Australian Crawl.
Yeah.
Every time. It's Australian Crawl.
And that's surprising too, to be honest, because I thought Cold Chisel would always be up there. For some reason, it's not, you know?
Yeah. Cold Chisel are actually way down the list a little bit. It's we won't go through all 40 here. Because number 11, 3 Days Grace, a pop punk band, which, look, I like to see guitars, rock, They're more an emo band, 3 Days Grace. I was kind of out of that thing. I wasn't right into that sort of thing. But this is the one I do like. Number 12, Linkin Park and Hybrid Theory. This album, and it's not an anniversary. There's no anniversary edition or anything like that. People are still buying
it, yeah.
They're still buying Hybrid Theory. That's another band that sort of made me go, wow. Like the next one's Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. That goes without saying.
It's always
Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. Yeah. But Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory is still a big selling record.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, there's no anniversary edition. There's no anything. People are still, and even on digital, people are still grabbing Hybrid Theory from Linkin Park.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I know. And look, the rest of them, now, as we said, most of them are greatest hits. We got the second Bon Jovi greatest hits. I believe, there's the Ultimate Collection, which was kind of like a 2-disc kind of set with some extra tracks on it and stuff. Sting and the Police makes sense to me. You know, Stand Atlantic, obviously, they're not a band I've heard of, but that doesn't mean anything. Baby Animals, 25th Anniversary Edition, coming at number 17. Once again, Baby Animals. That's the next one. That's
so where was I don't have it in front of me. My iPad just went flat. So
that's all right.
Where was AC/DC?
Number 19, Back in Black. The second biggest selling album of all time, behind Michael Jackson's Thriller. And once again, I've talked to you about the back catalogue sales of AC/DC. They're probably the band with Metallica that have the best back catalogue sales. And Back in Black, man, it's just, I'm not surprised that Back in Black is still a seller because of its standing. And it is an album that, God, I still listen to Back in Black, and I still think it's a fantastic album. And I did read somewhere that some studios use it as the level for guitar sound. Like when they want to test guitar sounds in studios, they use Back in Black. I like that. I always like the way AC/DC recorded records too. They were very succinct. You know my feelings on Malcolm Young. Yeah, ooh, that's what we got to talk about a little bit later on. Do we have time for that, Chris? We might not.
We have time.
Malcolm was always in the left speaker. Angus is always in the right, and they were always. And then when the solo was mixed with Angus in the front. They were always very, very, very succinct on where everyone was within the mix of a record. And always like that about AC/DC. Look, we won't go through the whole lot, but mostly greatest hits, because 20 is Billy Joel, and that's the most I'm ever going to say about him in this podcast. One thing that did surprise me going through, the highest was Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here for Pink Floyd. Another one of the biggest selling bands of all time, with Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall behind him, yet it's Wish You Were Here that is the album that still continues to sell really well in Australia.
Does it say on that chart how long they've been in the charts for?
No, it does not, and that's an interesting one. I mean, I know there's a Fleetwood Mac best of. They've got rumours here. There is a Fleetwood Mac best of that has never left the Australian chart. It is consistently in the Australian chart. It's been in there for over a decade, and I'm going to be. I'm confident in saying that because there's just it's been out for over a decade, so I'm confident in saying that. It's just a Fleetwood Mac greatest hits. I just remember on CD, it was just, you always had it. You always had to sell it. But hey, Susie Quattro's in there. What did I say about Susie Quattro the other day?
Week. Yeah.
Yep. In Australia, Susie Quattro is still
in the
charts in Australia. And these are the things that promoters look at when they're looking to book an artist. If I book an artist, what are they doing? And I know I can book Susie Quattro to tour Australia, and she'll probably won't sell entertainment centres or anything, but I could put her in mid-sized venues, and we will sell tickets, and that's good. I know for a fact if I bring Iron Maiden out to Australia, well, they'll play the entertainment centres because they've done it before, and they'll continue to do that. AC/DC are going to play stadiums. Queen will play stadiums now. Guns N' Roses are going to play stadiums. Rolling Stones will only play stadiums, I'm sure. And Bon Jovi, you put him in the stadiums. That's if John's still singing, but watch this space. Do we have time, Chris, to go into this other list that we were going to talk about?
We will. But what I'll just quickly is, I just looked up the top 40 Australian rock songs currently, and AC/DC Back in Black, the song itself, is number 4.
Yep.
AC/DC Thunderstruck is number 5. AC/DC It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll is number 6.
Far out.
What's Queen is number I've never heard of them. Maneskin, Begging.
That's what's the song?
Begging.
That's from Top Gun. And Maneskin they're the Italian heavy metal band that won Eurovision last year. The other day. Yep. They won it last year, yes. And that's, I think, from Top Gun Maverick.
Hollywood Vampires, Alice Cooper and Joe Perry have a song called Heroes. It's number 2. And then John Paul Young, Felt Like Love is number 3. And then the next 3 are all AC/DC songs. Yeah,
John Paul Young?
Yeah.
What?
Number 12 is AC/DC, TNT. It's just phenomenal to see this all this rock and roll in these charts. But yeah, no, it's really good. But yeah, no, it's good. So yeah, I sent you a link the other day to a Guitar World magazine. They did a survey, top rhythm guitar players, and I sent you the top 10. There's 50 in altogether. We won't talk about the whole 50, but we'll talk about the top 10. Your first thought when you saw the top 10 was what?
I remember when we talked about it many, many podcasts ago. I think when we first started almost, oh, geez, we were close to the mark, weren't we?
We were very close. I was actually really surprised how good we were at picking back then. Going to start at number 10 or 1?
Number 10 was my pick, which was Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses. Top 10. Yep. He was my number 3 pick, and I remember you said, but there's a lot of people out there who think the work he did on that first Guns N' Roses album.
Yeah.
No,
when I first saw the list, I was actually pleasantly surprised, very happy with it, to be honest. Yes, there's debate about some people, but overall, I think it's a pretty good list. So, yeah, having seen Izzy in there, and after you've mentioned it in the past with different podcasts, I've listened to Guns N' Roses a little bit differently in the last Destruction since that day, and I'm listening to more to what he's doing instead of what Slash is doing, and I think he's definitely top 10, easy.
Yep, easy. So, easy top 10. Easy top 10.
Next one was number 9, was Dave Mustaine. Now, I've never really seen him in there, but I do believe he deserves to be in there.
Well, look, if that's what they say, I never heard him in the conversation before, but hey, no. I'm not going to argue with it.
I've always thought people like Tony Iommi and those guys would be in there before Dave Mustaine. He didn't make it this time, Tony Iommi or even Mark Knopfler and people like that. But if you listen to Megadeth, and I'm not the biggest Megadeth fan, but I do like some of their things, some of their songs. He does really, he's an awesome guitar player. He can do lead and rhythm, but some of the guitar players he's had, like the Gus Fellow and Gus G and Marty Freeman, to be able to play rhythm and those guys play over you, and the songs he does are very like, I guess in a sense, a bit Metallica-ish, the way it's constructed and everything. You have to give him credit for it.
It's got the same intricacies as the Metallica.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to give him credit for it. It's very tight playing. So, I was happy to see Dave Mustaine in there this time. 8 was number Jimmy Page, which we know he's always going to be in the top 10.
But I suppose for the riffs, Jimmy wrote all those riffs.
Yeah.
Or stole all those riffs, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. He held the band together in a lot of ways.
Considering they're a one-guitar band.
Yeah. And they did something back then that hadn't been really done before. And they're still talked about every day. So I wasn't surprised to see him.
I think that's always been the thing with Led Zeppelin that has never aged, is Led Zeppelin still sound powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
They still sound huge. You can put on a Led Zeppelin record, and yes, you know it was recorded in the late 60s, early 70s, or whatever. It still sounds massive. And I think that's the power of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, for sure. Pete Townsend, number 7.
Yeah, look, he was never a lead player.
No.
But, I think in saying that, what really, he did a lot of guitar pyrotechnics with his arm, swinging his arm around, all that. Their rhythm section, John Entwistle on bass and Keith Moon on drums. As wild as that was, John Entwistle held that whole thing together. He just stood there playing that bass and held it all together. Yeah.
So I don't know much about the Who music, Pete Townsend and all that kind of thing. So I see his name all the time. I've never really listened to him that much. So I'm just going to go along with the fact that I'm not surprised he's in there. If he wasn't there, I wouldn't be surprised either. This year he is. Next year he might not be. I think personally, Tony Iommi could have replaced him But overall, I'm happy with it. That's fine by me. Number 6, I'm sure you know, and you'll definitely agree that John Lennon is a great rhythm guitar player.
Oh, yeah, I think actually both him and George were great rhythm players. Yeah, George played all the leads, and George was not a flashy player, but geez, he was a tasteful player. And but yeah, I think John Lennon's playing was always underrated.
Yeah. I think he's known more for his lyrics, isn't he?
And songwriting, yes, the songwriting is the thing that they're most known for. Yeah. So yeah, when I saw John Lennon, I went, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." And I can't believe you never throw that in the conversation to begin with.
Yeah, well, he was. That's pleasantly surprising, but no, he deserves to be there, I think.
Yep.
Number 5, good old Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, it's more of a lead player. Look, you played this thing about. I haven't been able to hear Jimi Hendrix the same way after you showed me that video of the guy pointing out how much Jimmy's playing is out of tune. I re-listened to some of it the other day, and I went, "Oh God, it's out of tune, isn't it?" It's because he just lived on the whammy bar. He was, he was playing an old Strat. They didn't have back then the Floyd Rose. I forget what they did. Floyd Rose tremolo bars and everything like that keeps the strings in tune. As soon as you start playing those old Fender Strats and start using the whammy bar, you're just stretching those strings, and it's just.
Yeah, well, his guitar was upside down.
Yeah, and he played a right-handed guitar, left-handed.
And the strings will go around, so his arm would have been resting on the whammy bar pretty much constantly.
Yes, it was, yes.
So, but yeah, I think to me, he's not really a rhythm guitar player.
No.
I think for him, he would be a lead guitar player. So I guess I'm not the biggest Jimi Hendrix fan anyway. So see him in there kind of like, I'm not surprised he's in there because people always vote for him for everything. But he should be the lead.
Do you know what Jimi Hendrix did very well, which is something I think Mick Mars from Motley Crue does very well, is that rhythm and lead playing at the same time.
Yeah, well,
maybe that's the thing that sort of works in that particular favor, is that sort of thing. Jimmy he's literally doing that. He's literally playing rhythm and lead at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's where number 4 comes in, because I think number 4 would be the best ever of that kind of guitar playing rhythm and lead, which is Eddie Van Halen.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You said that at the start, and I was like, really? I always thought Eddie is a lead player. Yeah, you're right. Rhythm playing. He was so. You're right. He was so spot on with his rhythm playing.
Yeah, it's always about the song, not his solos. Everyone thinks he's a solo player, which he obviously was, but his solos are very short. He did it for the song, not for himself and his egos. But his rhythm playing, he's always going to be in the list of rhythm players as far as I'm concerned, as well as lead players. But he kept that band. I'm not saying Michael Anthony didn't, but when you have a brother who plays drums and you grew up together as a guitar player and a drummer, you're going to have a rhythm section just with you guys alone without the bass player. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Michael come along and did what he did when the solos were playing, but together, the three of them, I think, really had a really good rhythm section, the three. Very similar to what Dimebag did with his brother Vinny, you know.
Exactly, exactly.
Number 3, Keith Richards. You're a Keith fan.
Goes without saying. Yep. It really does. It goes without saying. I don't know how you describe it. It just is.
It just
it just is.
It is.
You know, he came out of the rock, plays this, and when he dies, he'll just go back into that rock.
Number
if
2.
He ever dies.
Yeah, that's if he does. He's up there with the Aussie, isn't he?
Yeah.
James Hetfield, number 2. Hands down.
Your pick. That was your pick.
Yeah.
He was your pick. I remember that.
He's always going to be, I think, the greatest rhythm player on earth. I know he didn't make number 1 this time around, but when you find out who number 1 is, you probably understand it. But what James does is basically what Dave Mustaine does, but 10 times better, I think. And number 2, he should be in there. He should be either number 1 in my mind or number 2, because what he plays is a whole different ballgame to what Keith Richards does and Malcolm Young. But okay, not everything's always has to do with downstrokes and fast and whatever. So I'm happy with James being number 2. But yeah, number 1, go for it. You can say it. Go on.
My pick, Malcolm Young.
Yeah,
it's like Keith Richards. It's Malcolm Young. It just is. You know, you say we were talking before about AC/DC. I really do. I listen to the left-hand side. I've always now watched. And we went and saw them live many years ago. And I saw them perform Let There Be Rock. And I remember Angus is out there doing all this stuff and he's crazy. And this thing went for 17 minutes, Let There Be Rock. I remember saying to my wife, listen to that rhythm. Listen to Malcolm on guitar. He hasn't missed time. The whole thing has kept in sync and in time for 17 full minutes without a flub, without a break, without anything. And I was just like, that amazed me more than Angus's whatever Angus does. Angus does what he does really well. Not taking it away, but Malcolm is like he was the thing that held that, and he's the thing that holds rock and roll together. It's embodied. It was embodied in that little man's tiny body. You know what I mean?
And I've always found I've only ever seen AC/DC live once, and it amused me because when they all sing. You know, the bass player and Malcolm walk up to the microphone, they do their little backing vocals, then they step back in front of the speakers and just stay there while Angus and Brian just run around like fruitcakes, doing what they do. Yep. When they walk out again, they sing their part, they walk back again, stand there and wait. It's so robotic, but I've always done it, you know what I mean? So,
it keeps everything was in time. Malcolm's left leg, Malcolm's left leg was never missed time. His right hand never missed time. It was phenomenal. And as you said, when those two and the way it was just all a timing thing. It was just all a timing thing. So look, to be honest, the 3 I picked, Izzy Stradlin, Keith Richards, Malcolm Young, were in that list. The 2 you picked, James Hetfield and Eddie Van Halen. I can't remember who your 3rd one was, but those 2 made the list. I think we do pretty well, Chris.
I think my 3rd one would have been Tony Iommi. And just let you know, he's number 11.
I think we've done pretty well, mate.
I think we have done pretty well.
I think we're going to have to wrap this up. You have a cool thing quickly?
Yeah, my cool thing, I'll tell you right now, if you like playing guitar or listening to guitar, there's a band out there called Polyphia. Oh, man.
Polyphia. I haven't listened to it yet. You sent me a link. I haven't listened to it yet.
Polyphia, a young bunch of band from America. Playing God is their new single. They play on nylon string guitars. And these guys have made, it's like a new genre in progressive rock. They're doing, what they do is just amazing. And watching these guys do what they do, where I grew up watching Steve Vai bring out a whole new thing and Eddie Van Halen bring out a whole new thing. And even Joseph Tironi and this Tim Henson fellow, who is probably the lead writer of this band, Polyphia. I'll tell you right now, it's phenomenal watching them, especially playing it on a nylon string, the harmonics are so crystal clear, but have a listen to that. And the song called Playing God only came out last week. And if you can pronounce it, good luck.
My cool thing is literally, I only just discovered it and I linked you to it, Chris. I just found it on Facebook. Chris Cornell singing U2's One, but using the lyrics of Metallica's One.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet, actually.
Yeah. Wow, because he said he didn't know the song, and when he was looking up the lyrics, and he looked up lyrics to One, it was Metallica's that came up first, not U2's. So that was the most look. He said it was that one, then U2, and then the old Three Dog Night one. One is the loneliest number. Yeah. But it was always so he put, and he did, and it works, and it sounds like a completely different song. And I reckon you'd love it, Chris. And it's my cool thing for the week. Check it out on YouTube. Chris Cornell doing One, but it's U2's One with the lyrics to Metallica's One. And
it's pronounced Polyphia. I just remembered.
Polyphia. I had a feeling it was going to be, wouldn't be something like Polyphia. Polyphia.
No, Polyphia. I've been trying to remember it. Just remembered how it was. Polyphia.
That sounds Playing more prog.
Listen. Yeah.
I'm gonna have a listen to that.
Yeah. Anyway, subscribe, like. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for episode 35.
That was a huge episode, Chris. I don't know how we topped that one. It was massive.
It was good.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.
Like,
bye, everybody.
Like, subscribe, all the stuff.